Hello fans, collectors, investors, welcome back to Iconic Baseball. I'm Iconic Al. Welcome back to the countdown. This is my list of the 100 greatest and most iconic ball players in baseball history. This is what I collect. This is how I've chosen to narrow down my collection to truly what matters to me. Today we are at number 9, so we're at the later stages of the countdown here. We're talking inner circle, upper tier guys, every one of them. And it is my honor and privilege to introduce a guy who was not just a baseball hero, but a true American hero. A guy who risked his life flying combat missions in World War II and in Korea, risking his life and sacrificing over 3 years of the prime of his baseball career to military service and his country. So for that, he should be applauded, and his numbers should be adjusted accordingly. We'll get into that later. Aside from that, he was a master fisherman and also the last man to bat 400. He literally wrote the book on hitting. Of course, you know who I'm talking about. The kid, the splendid splinter, the greatest hitter who ever lived, the great Ted Williams.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jack. I don't care if I never get back. Let me root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Use the right bat for you, one that you can handle comfortably. Use a firm grip, but not so tight as to lock your wrists. Remember the V when you pick up a bat. Only hit at good balls, ones in your strike zone. Work at being quick with your hands and wrists, because the quicker you become, the longer you can wait to judge the pitch and the less you'll be fooled. Eliminate or minimize any lost motion so that you gain more time. Use a short, quick stride because it is faster, your head moves less, and you can see the pitch better. Be in balance at all times while in the batter's box. Stand back away from the plate so that you can cover it more easily and hit with more authority. These are the most important points to help you to develop into a better hitter. Many good hitters hold the bat a little differently than Ted does. Some stand in the box differently or stride differently, but they all have one thing in common. They're all quick with their hands and wrists. Remember, the more you practice, the quicker you become and the longer you can wait and look at the pitch. And in simple language, that means more hits for you.
Born in 1918 in San Diego, Ted Williams would become the greatest hitter who ever lived. He played his entire career with the Boston Red Sox between 1939 and 1960. During that time, he compiled 121.8 WAR, hitting .344 for a career with a .482 on-base percentage. That is the highest on-base percentage in baseball history, folks. He compiled 2,654 hits, hitting 521 home runs, knocking in 839, and scoring 1,798. He won 2 MVP awards, 2 Triple Crown awards, 6 batting titles, and was a 19-time All-Star. He recorded a jaw-dropping 1.116 OPS and a 191 OPS plus, meaning he was 91% better than the league average offensive player of his time. Just striking. He put up some of the best offensive numbers in history despite missing 3 full seasons of his prime to military service. We're talking about his age 24, 25, and 26 seasons. These would have been some peak output seasons for Ted Williams. This was a student of the game who devoted himself almost obsessively to a single skill, hitting a baseball. That resulted in peak WAR seasons of 10.4 in 1941, 10.5 WAR in 1942, and 10.7 WAR in 1946. One thing I like to do on these videos is a little back of the napkin calculation, just to see fairly what Ted Williams' career totals would have been had he not lost 3 complete seasons in his prime to military service. So let's look at WAR. Let's say conservatively 8 WAR per season, which, having previously mentioned his multiple 10 WAR seasons, I think is pretty conservative, given we're talking about prime Ted Williams. So you have 3 8 WAR seasons added on to his 121.8 WAR, and you have an adjusted WAR for Ted Williams of 145.8. That's the level of player that we're talking about here. We're talking about historic production. If you look at his career hit total, 2,654, and you add conservatively 180 hits per season, which is kind of right on par with what he was doing, even maybe a little lower. 3 180 hit seasons added to his current total puts him at 3,194 hits. So I really do view Ted Williams as a 3,000 hit club member, even though statistically he's not there. Those seasons he served in the wars count for something to me, and I've always thought of Ted Williams as a 3,000 hit guy, whether he is or not. With home runs, same deal. If you factor in an average of 35 home runs a season for those 3 years he missed, that gets him to 626. Ted Williams is perhaps most known for being the last player to hit 400, famously hitting 406 in 1941, going 6 for 8 in a doubleheader at the very end of the season. Just historic, amazing stuff. So, with all this being said, why is Ted Williams ranked at number 9 and not at number 1? Well, there are a few factors that sort of bump him down a little bit. Those being, he was not known to be a great defensive player. His negative 13.3 defensive WAR says that, defense sort of detracted from his overall total. So he was not a plus defender, he was a minus defender. He also was not known to have great speed, so he was not a threat on the base paths. He also really did not distinguish himself in the postseason, so only playing in 1 World Series game, which was a loss to the St. Louis Cardinals in 1946. So there are a few detractors. However, all things being considered, you have to say that Ted Williams was truly a top 10 ball player of all time. And here is my Ted Williams PC. Let's start at the very beginning with the very first Ted Williams card I ever owned. This is one that's been with me for about 26 years. I think I was about 15 years old when I traded for this. Got this from a really good friend of mine, DG, you know who you are. If you're watching this, yes, I still have it. This is a trade that I made with a good friend of mine, DG, and I remember giving him just about everything that I had at the time. I don't know how many items or cards were involved. I remember a turf block from Three River Stadium was involved, and all sorts of other random things were thrown in to get to the value of this card, which was just sort of a dream card for me at the time. But with negotiations that dragged on for days and maybe even weeks, we finally made a deal and I ended up with this card. And it sat in a 1-inch thick lucite holder for, 20 years plus. And then a few years back, I got up the nerve to unscrew the card from its lucite holder. I was very nervous to send it to PSA because I know a lot of those cards don't do well, but very happy to get the PSA 5 on this. A really clean surface, a very clean card overall. Centering could be better, but that's about it. This is number 1 in the set, which also adds some appeal to the card, in my opinion. But just a classic follow-through pose for Ted Williams. One of the later career cards for Ted Williams, but one that has nostalgia for me, goes way back into my younger days of collecting, and one of those just pieces that I will always own. And it's your first Ted Williams card. You're always going to remember that. Okay, another piece that actually goes back to my high school years, and people that don't know this All-Star game may not know why this is relevant to Ted Williams, but Ted Williams was on the field for the unveiling of the All-Century team during the All-Star game in 1999. This was a time when we were acquainted with the All-Star first baseman for the National League, Sean Casey. He lived down the street from us, my brother and I. So we would often go down, visit with him. He would sign things for us, and we'd just talk baseball. And when he went to the All-Star game in '99, we went back over to his house to talk afterwards, and he presented my brother and I with a signed copy of this '99 All-Star Game program, which is really special. I'll do another video on this sometime in the future, just showing all my Sean Casey signed stuff, because it's something that's really cool for me. But this is my indirect connection to Ted Williams, because this was one of the last appearances Ted Williams made in public. He was 80 years old, and I remember bawling my eyes out when he was on the field in his wheelchair, and every player on the All-Star roster, on the All-Century team, crowded around him because they wanted to be close to the greatest hitter who ever lived. And just to see them come around him and give him the adulation and the love, one of the greatest moments I've ever witnessed. I mean, it's right up there with Cal Ripken breaking Lou Gehrig's record back in '95. There are moments like that. As a baseball fan, you just sit back and you're watching something special. And that was one of those moments for me. And so thankful for Sean Casey to think of two kids from down the block coming back from this All-Star game and giving us this signed program that was personalized to Brian and Alan. Thanks for being great neighbors. All my best, Sean Casey. So just a very special piece to me. Okay, let's go on to the baseball here. This is another longtime staple in my collection. Just a beautiful single-signed Upper Deck Ted Williams baseball. Really nice showcase of his autograph, which is art. It's a thing of beauty. A beautiful flowing signature for Ted Williams on the sweet spot here. This was done through Upper Deck on an American League Bobby Brown baseball. And one of those ones I was very thankful to have saved up for back when I was waiting tables in high school. And it was not cheap back then, but at $150, $175, it looks like a pretty good buy still. But yeah, just a beautiful signature for Ted Williams. Now, along those same lines, this is another Upper Deck authenticated Ted Williams autographed release. This came out in 1994, and this was to commemorate that 1941 season. I think he signed 2,500 of these, and this would have been distributed in a screw-down holder in a 2-card set. So you have this unsigned copy of the card, and then this signed copy. And just a beautiful signature. One more look at it. I think one of the most aesthetically pleasing autographs in the hobby. Carries the Upper Deck hologram there. And just a great on-card example for Teddy Ballgame. And then last, but certainly not least, aesthetically my favorite Ted Williams card in my collection, the classic 51 Bowman. This is, eye appeal at its finest. Well-centered copy, that follow-through. The 51 Bowman set is just art. I love the Campanella too. I'm currently trying to add one of those to my collection, but yeah, the Ted Williams is just a beautiful mid-career example. And this was graded a 2.5 somehow. I'm not quite sure how this graded a 2.5, but I think there might be something on the surface that they were looking at, but it's really hard to tell. Looks like a 4 or 5 to me. Anyway, it doesn't affect the impact of the card, the eye appeal. I just love it. This is aesthetically my favorite Ted Williams card. All right, well, that is what I have for Mr. Ted Williams. Thank you so much for joining me on this countdown. This has been such a joy for me. I swear, every week I look forward to my next video even more than the previous week, because we're talking about the greatest players in the history of the game. So stay tuned for next week's video. I can't wait to share it. Until then, keep collecting and stay iconic.